What is the worst name you've ever heard someone have? When I was doing my rotations in the pediatrics clinic in dental school, we had a patient on the schedule that was like Prince King the Highest One Johnson III. It was so over the top and outrageous. Run-up is Princess. We were in undergrad and I think she was pre-med and I just tried to imagine admissions taking her. Seriously, I think it's a huge disservice. It's cute for a teacup puppy, not a human being with ambitions. I used to be friends with a girl named Gypsy. Her middle name meant wanderer in another language, can't remember exactly what it was though. It's been years. But it did start with a W. Yes, her mum was a hippie. I also work in a call center, so I've heard some pretty bad ones. Two that stand out are Desica like Jessica with a D and some poor woman named Phoebe Giove. She mentioned her dad named her. I worked with a young girl years ago who told me that she had a toddler daughter named Sky. Oh, that's a cute name, I thought. She said it was spelt with an I, said spelt S-K-I. And she said yes. She named her kid Ski and told everyone it's pronounced Sky. We said that a ski is for moving on snow. And she said it's a good job her kid's called Sky then. We had no further questions. Couple of them who changed their names 1 year after they moved here and realized what's going on. Another Iranian name is Pupak, which sounds like poop pack, which is basically pack of shit. So yay. Two different women, both in hospital, naming Thea babies. I was a maternity nurse at one point in my nursing career. One picked Melina, the other Candida. Couldn't help but wince because Melina is the medical term for blood in your poop, and Candida albicans is an organism that causes yeast infections. Kveilin pronounced like Caitlin. The parents wanted to give her a unique spelling of the name to help her stand out, I guess. But in America, numbers are not allowed in a name on birth certificates. Roman numerals are, though, since technically they're just letters. So that's how we got this abomination. I once worked with a woman named Gagandit. Granted, she was an old lady from India who barely spoke English, so I don't think she knew the innuendo. Makes me wonder if my name means something funny in other cultures. For my Western name, it would have to be Hank Hankins. My ex-husband's grandmother was the only girl out of 11 kids. She had an older brother named Ray, and the youngest brother was named Raymond. I used to tease her after 9 boys. Her parents ran out of names for a 10th boy, so they had to start over from the beginning. Once encountered a man whose last name was Spatman ... He knew it was awful too. He didn't say his name out loud when I requested it. He just showed me his ID instead. I also know someone who took the last name Raper by choice. She married into it. I knew a kid named Richard Cummings III. He went by Ricky as opposed to, we didn't tease him for it because he was a cool guy, but man, if I was his dad, I just couldn't fathom wanting to pass down that particular name. Borderline cruelty. Chlamydia. I remember watching this on TV years ago. It might have been Ripley's Believe It or Not, but don't quote me on that. Anyway, this US-American woman, of course she has thought it was a flower. She mixed up chlamydia with chrysanthemum. Cunt. I met a sweet 7-year-old girl at a hotel pool last year, and in the course of chatting, she mentioned that her mother's boyfriend's name was Cunt. I said, "Do you mean Kurt?" She said, "Nope. Cunt. I'm just guessing on the spelling here." My parents knew someone who planned to name her daughter Latrine. They had to break it to her, and fortunately she had the good sense to listen. She didn't know what it meant. She had just heard the word once and thought it sounded pretty. I had a friend back in high school named Spider-Man. He told me that when they moved to Canada, he and his parents were from India. They got legal English names, so they asked him what he wanted to name himself. So he said Spider-Man. I'm not gonna write her name, but I will write one that rhymes in the exact same way. Shelley Reagan van der Hagen. Also knew a meth addict named Crystal Metz. Oh yeah, and I have a Vietnamese buddy whose wife is named Hobie. I went to elementary school with a kid named Sky Blue Diamond, literally, word for word spelled that way. Male. Conversely, I also went to the same school with a kid named Anthony Stone Aldworth. That's a strong name, lol. My father used to have a colleague whose last name was Pen, which in Spanish means penis. He didn't seem to mind his name, but it embarrassed my father's assistant every time he called. She'd say that engineer is calling. I met a girl at university whose surname was the equivalent of clitoris. Even the professors always paused when they called her name. To this day she insists that she was never bullied for this name. Pepsi, literally named after a soda lol. Also, I had a friend whose first name was Tarzan, but he went by his middle name. But now that I think about it, Tarzan is kind of an awesome name lol. Kid in my daughter's preschool class is named Karen. It used to be a great and popular name. Come on, now that name has been defiled. You are knowingly setting your kid up for a hard time. Turdis. It's the first name of a person buried near a family member. Her full name was Turdis Elsie Jones 19171994. Dorcas, sweetest girl ever. Very Christian and from Uganda. When we were 16, she was scandalized that I lost my virginity in the back seat of a car. She promised to pray for me. I didn't hear this, but I read an article about a mother that was furious at an airline employee who laughed at her daughter's name, which was ABCD, pronounced Abcity. This is not a joke. My cousin, a police officer, met a woman who had named her daughter Kerosene. She pronounced it Carosony, but hand to God it was spelled kerosene. I went to school with Fifi Trixable, Bob Geldof's daughter. I wasn't in her year, so I didn't know her. But I don't think she got teased. School was pretty strict. I went to high school with a girl whose first name was Marx Lenin. Nobody knew this until looking at our yearbook at the end of senior year. We all knew her as Angie. Potato. Literally heard her mama call her daughter this on the train platform. And it wasn't a pet name. She was calling her angrily. Banksy also was painful. Knew an ornament in high school. Also heard of a JKMNO pronounced Noel because there's no L. Every now. And then I think about that, lol. I went to a party and met a cute woman. I felt the vibe, so I got her social. Then it turned out her name was Torrance, and I lost like 50-60 of my interest. My husband adopted a son before we married, and the poor kid had been named Cocaine. He was so happy. My husband asked him if he wanted to change it. My wife has seen some shit. She is a cake deco. Hey, you Diwali, check my spelling, but the kid was named a train, which when said aloud sounds latrine. I went to school with a girl named Savannah in autumn. What were her parents thinking? I also went to college with a girl named Tuesday Rain. Right as COVID was kicking into high gear, a couple had twins. They named them COVID and Corona. Some people shouldn't be allowed to reproduce. My little cousin, he is 8, is named Grayson. I adore his mom. We've always been really close. But girl, why? What was wrong with Grayson? Names like Jeff, Jeffrey, etc. It's unfortunate, but the first thing I wonder is what kind of meat they have in their freezer. That would have to be the late and great race car driver, Dick Trickle, followed by football coach Dick Butkus, pronounced Butkiss. I'm watching a show about polygamists, and this fucking hillbilly's name is downright like fucking dough. White instead of Dwight fuck. Rosie Hyman. Her name was Rosalind, but she shortened it to Rosie. Am I the only one who thinks Rosie Hyman is a bit startling? I knew a cleanliness in college. He went by Clean. I also knew two sisters from junior high named Cinnamon and Ginger Graham. My sister-in-law changed my sibling's name into something so fucked up as an elaborate prank. I don't even dare to type it. Ilmau. Served with a white guy in the Navy, last name Wigger. Can't fool the gov. That was his legal last name. Truly unfortunate. My sister was a teacher, and she had a student one year whose name was pronounced Shithayad, but spelled Shiththead. Cliftoria. That F is way too close to another T, and she sure did not hit it hard enough when pronouncing her own name. Knew of a girl once whose name was pronounced Ladosha, which isn't that bad except for the fact it was spelled Lie. My uncle went to school with someone named Harry Richard, shortened for Harry Dick. Sounds like Harry Dick. Dick Buttus. Couldn't believe it when I read it lol. Reminded me of that Monty Python sketch Biggest Dickus. Not me, but my mum had the pleasure to meet a young girl named Pajama. Her mum said she got it from a Sears catalogue. Former mayor of Fort Wayne, Indiana, Harry Bowles, It could have been worse. His middle name could have been Big. A guy a few years above me back in high school was named Gabe Horn. I'll let you connect the dots on that one. I came across a CV for an applicant and I kid you not, their first name was Paul on Heart. It's true. I worked at a bank and one of our regular customers was named Nimrod. I'd have gone by Rod. He went by Nim. I saw a file at work a long time ago on a client named Peter Belong, and on the folder it was long. Peter. My aunt used to run a daycare. She had a pair of sisters whose legal names were Princess and Miss Queen. I work in hospitals, so I see lots of insane names. But possibly top of the list was a baby named Defro. Not a real name, but a gamertag, Vulneria. I told her it sounded like venereal, and she was very upset. My ex went to school with a girl named Listerine. He showed me her picture and name in his yearbook lore. One of the high-ups at my work is named Swastika. She's Indian, so it didn't bother me after a while. Cardio calls he was conceived in a car while the mum's favorite song played on the radio. Car radio. Spurgeon. One of the Duggar kids named their son there. Oddly, the rest of her kids have normal names. Tallulah does the hula from Hawaii. Look it up, this happened in NZ. A judge got them to change it. A co-worker had a child on July 4th. I met her child when she was 23. Her name was Liberty Bell. I was a teacher who met at ABCD pronounced Arbesity and an orange yellow pronounced Orangelo. Might come. Say your kid's potential name out loud before you make the final decision, people. A young woman named Latrine was listed in local online arrest bookings report a while back.